Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We're waiting for three of
Director Moss, the court director, he's logging on right now along with the judge. Just give him a few minutes.
No.
Thank you. Uh,
Yeah,
you logging on?
yeah.
You
That's
So, well, how about on my
You-
city
you-
phone?
Okay.
There you go.
Sorry for the delay. One, two, three. Cliff, are you already here? Cliff Ross?
I don't see him.
Yeah, he's 666-1866. Cliff
Oh,
Ross?
no.
Can you unmute him?
One second. I'm asking. I'm trying to get to rename him.
Councilman Coley's going to be late.
I'm here.
Okay, you can't turn your video on, right?
No.
Okay. So who's facilitating this meeting?
I am.
All right, we have 4 people.
Okay. All right. Let's see. You can start recording. Okay.
Recording.
Thank you. It is recording, right?
Yes.
Okay. This is a special meeting to hold a budget hearing of the City Council of the City of Orange Township held via audio video conferencing on Tuesday, June 6, 2024 at, what's the time?
7:09.
7:09 p.m. Roll call. Councilmember Coley,
He's going to be late.
Councilmember Hilbert. Not
No.
present. Councilmember Mosque the third.
Having trouble getting on.
Okay. Councilmember Ross,
President,
Councilmember Summers Johnson,
Here.
Councilmember Wooten,
Here.
Council President Eason.
Here.
Also present is Joyce Lanier, the city clerk. I didn't see Tamara log on.
She's here.
She's here. Okay, Tamara Robinson, the deputy city clerk, Chris M. Hartwick, the business administrator, Niall Clements, the CFO, Alvin White, the deputy city attorney, Derek Brown, the fire chief. Is Judge Hackett here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Judge Hackett. Marlon G. Towns. Okay, Todd Warren, police director. Mark. Oh, okay, Captain Vidiello.
Chief.
Chief.
You're missing Chief Filiella.
Chief. Okay, Chief Vidiello, police department. Marguerite Homier, clerk's office, and Tricia Scipio, city clerk's office. Let's have a moment of silence.
Amen.
The requirements of NJSA 10:4-9 et sec, the Sunshine Law has been met. A notice of this meeting was sent to the record transcript published in the Star Ledger on May 30th, 2024, published in the city website and the council's website, and filed in the office of the city clerk. Tonight's matters of discussion is the calendar year budget hearings, and we have the municipal court, the police department, and the fire department. Council President?
All right, I'm gonna ask, we're gonna begin. I'm gonna ask our CFO if he will start with the municipal court.
Gladly. Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. As our Council President Easton said, we're going to begin with the municipal court. First, we'll have an introduction by Judge Michael Hackett, James Marsh, Court Director. Then we have the opening statement, excuse me, and then we'll hit the books after that. Judge?
Just
Good evening.
state the tab so everybody I'm sure everybody have it, but what is
Sure. It's tab 11, page 123.
now,
Councilman Ross.
is there any visual on this? Because I don't have any visual on my phone, and I will try to get onto the Zoom where I can see what's going on and you guys can see me. Is there any visuals that's going to be conducted tonight?
Judge Hackett, you have a visual presentation?
No, we don't. We submitted a statement, an opening statement in writing that was submitted to council. I apologize for late notice of the statement because the courts are now closed down because all the judges in the state are currently attending a convention in Teaneck. So I just came from the convention right now. So it took me a minute to get the statement out, but I can submit it to everyone afterwards, but I'm just going to highlight what's in there tonight.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So, but you should have it by the time you get back to City Hall, Councilman.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Just wanted to thank everyone for having us here. I'm Judge Michael Hackett, Chief Judge, Orange Municipal Court. Also have with me my court director, Mr. James Moss, and the court administrator, Ms. Tina Danwa. First of all, I'm going to note that over the last few years, everyone knows COVID has taken a toll on many courts in the state. There was a large backlog from every court because nothing was moving. They're still filing complaints. They were still issuing tickets, but for many years, the backlog, our ability to handle cases has been reduced. But we've done everything that we could on our end to move these cases. We've been recognized by our Essex Vicinage presiding judge, Chandra Cole, is one of the model courts as far as backlog reduction. We've been able to reduce backlog in almost every area, and there's been an overall decline in backlog for the 2023 years. We've also undergone some personnel changes in the court. We've had a new judge appointed, Judge Teresa Pollard, who was a longtime prosecutor in Orange. She took the place of Judge Corbett, who moved on to Union County. And she's hit the ground running. She has some personal issues, but once those got out of the way, she's back up to full speed, and she's picked up where Judge Corbett left off. We haven't really missed a beat. We also had a new prosecutor, Mr. Dennis Hickerson Breeden, who was one of our fill-in prosecutors for many years, who's now stepped in, young and aggressive prosecutor who is doing a great job moving the cases. We also have some recognitions from many judges throughout the state as far as the progress that we're doing here in Orange. And that's been reflected in the fact that the administrative director of the course, Glenn Grant, has appointed myself to one of the statewide commissions on the judicial use of social media and a working group. We've also had appointments for both Director Moss and Court Administrator Tina Damwa, who were assigned to Director Grant's Committee on Municipal Court, entitled Where Do We Go From Here, a working group. And we've also been participating and requested to participate in many mock courts and mock trials throughout the state, and mostly in Essex County. So those things are coming up now. We've done a few already, but a lot of the school districts and schools are asking us to participate in mock trials as judges and even court staff. So we're working hard on that. One of the things we're most proud of so far is our intern program. We've had interns from many of the top colleges in the state. We've had, I believe, 16 of our interns have graduated from some of the top colleges in this country so far. So we're very proud about that. We've also had high school students intern with us. Many of them are volunteers. They have a lot of them have a requirement, community service requirement. So they were able to fulfill their community service hours through the court. So we certainly welcome their participation, but it's more of a give and take. It's a learning experience for them, but they also provide some extra bodies and hands for us without any impact to our budget. We do an intense scrutinizing process for our interns. We can't just be a regular student and come to the Orange Municipal Court. You have to be one of the top students, and you have to have a plan and what your future is and what it is you plan on doing with that. Make sure your goals fit in with our goals and our accomplishments here at the court. So we do a rigorous interview process for our interns and give them a taste of what a real interview is like. So it's not just a rubber stamp. You want to be an intern, you come here. You have to meet certain criteria. So I think it's good for them and good for us too. What else?
Okay.
The Essex County Court Administration Association has a committee that's responsible for orchestrating the 2024 Essex County Spring Conference, which our administrator, Ms. Damwa, and Director Moss are on that committee as well. So I think that we've had a very, very successful year.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, Judge Hackett. With that, Council President, we would like to move to the books.
Okay,
Tab
let's go.
11, page
Oh.
123.
Right.
Page 123 begins with the court salary and wages. This year's total request is $1,040,467. Last year's adopted budget for total salary and wages was $961,585. For the salary and wage lines with the employees, total request is $1,005,467 compared to last year's $941,585. You'll notice the pay to charge line was $1,035,561.33. Last year, we budgeted $35,000 for overtime, charged out a whopping $5.79. Judge, I think if you want to speak to that, a lot of that was charged to the POAA, Education by Right of Trust Fund. So the city didn't actually incur those costs. Any questions on page 123? If not, we'll flip the page to 124. This begins the municipal court's O&E request. Total requested $179,905 compared to last year's $177,900. $905. Last year they spent $95,819.35. First line item, office materials and supplies. This year's request is $1,000. Last year, nothing was requested. They spent almost $10,000. Dues and publications, they're requesting $1,500. We budgeted $1,500 last year. We spent approximately $1,700. Employee training, they're requesting $1,000, same as last year's budget. Spent $135. Communications, $500 is their request this year. $500 was their adopted budget for that line item last year. They spent $2,090. Postage, request is $90,000 this year. Last year's adopted budget was $90,000. They spent $27,000. Equipment repair and maintenance, $5,053, same as last year's budget. Nothing was paid or charged. Any questions on page 124? If not, when drop down to page 125. Courts printed and binding line item, requesting $15,000, the same as last year's budget. They spent $947.68. Professional services request is $60,000. Last year's adopted budget was $59,000 for that line item. They spent approximately $55,000. Contractual services, $5,827, which is the same as last year's adopted budget. They spent $980. Witness fees, they're requesting $25, same as last year's budget. Nothing was paid or charged. Any questions on page 125?
Mr. CFO, Mr. Clements,
Council President Easton?
maybe it would help if you just, I see on the lines where it says transfers. Could you just explain what that means?
Sure. Transfer, so on page 125,000, printing and binding, there was 15,000 budgeted last year. We transferred out of that line item, 14,000.
To use and to cover into other accounts, right?
Correct.
Okay. Go ahead.
Council President Easton, finished witness fees. And that concludes the court's O&E budget and salary and wages request for 2024.
Does anyone, any council members have any questions on the municipal budget? Any questions? I see no questions. If you're going to question, could you just raise your hand so we can see it? That being said, Judge Hackett, you want to do any closing remarks? I'm sorry.
Sure. Sorry, there's a
Hold on,
question.
hold on. We have a question from Councilman Montague. No, I think he's clapping his hands.
Okay. Well, this is definitely a first. But I do appreciate the time that the council has taken to review everything. I think the fact that there's no question is a testament to the job that we're doing, I hope. I do want to say that the success of the court is not in any small part due to the staff that we have here. And I want to acknowledge them as well as Mr. James Moss, who is our first African-American director of the courts in Orange, and Ms. Tina Donwa, who is the youngest court administrator in the state, who don't let her years fool you. She's on the ball. If anyone has ever had any dealings with her, she knows what she's doing. She knows what she's talking about, and she commands respect. And I thank her for her efforts in that regard as well.
All right, Judge Hackett, before you leave, we have Councilman Montague has his hand up.
Can you hear me?
We can hear
Yes,
you
I can.
now.
I want to talk about under salaries and wages. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth line item, salary and wages.
Okay.
You see what
Yes.
I thought there was going to be an increase in salary on that individual. I'm not going to name any names.
I believe the intent is to increase the salary.
Yeah, but
That amount, I'm sorry, that amount is budgeted in, Councilman Montiel, that amount is budgeted in the salary adjustment line item. So we'll get to that in tab 4. There are a number
Okay.
of wages budgeted in the salary adjustment line item.
It will be adjusted.
That is the plan, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
That's your only question? Thank you. Councilman Coley, are you on? Did you admit Councilman Coley?
Yes, he
Yes, he's,
arrived at 7:25.
Okay, thank you. We'll hear from the CBAC, Citizens Advisory. You have any questions on this, the municipal court budget? Okay, thank you very much, Judge Hackett and your team for your presentation.
wait a second, I think Carl Phillips has his hand up.
I don't see him at all.
Oh, press unmute, Carl.
Okay, there I am. Thank you, Mr. Pio. Council President,
Yes.
I just wanted to indicate that the CBAC was meeting in person tonight, and we got a late start. Some of the members were not there. Some were. I don't know if Ms. Perkins or Mr. Pryor are on the call. But they said they may have some questions, but there's no formal questions that we have at this time from CBAC.
Just keep in mind, at the end of all of the hearings, you will have your opportunity to ask your question if you don't get them asked tonight.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
All right, Council President, on to the next department presenting tonight is Orange Police Department. We have Director Warren, Chief of the Yellow in the background. I see Chief back there. They're going to be on tab 8, page 75. Director, whenever you're ready, we'll take your opening statement, please.
Good evening. I want to begin by thanking you all for the outpouring of love and support in the loss of my dad. It's a really rough time for me and my family, but the love and support that you all have been giving makes it a lot easier to press forward. And I'm greatly appreciative of that, myself and my family. And unfortunately, I learned yesterday that my sister's father-in-law passed away, so we're really going through it. But with God's help, we will persevere. The Orange Police Department has had its challenges, but as usual, we come together as a cohesive group and we overcome all of our issues. We continue to work hard to accomplish our goals. And all of our successes cannot be possible without the support of the council, the administration, our business administrator. So I want to thank you all, first of all, for your support and for always giving us a listening ear to different ideas and things that we're trying to do. This year we received the New Jersey LEAD grant, ShotSpotter grant. We've had a host of successful PCC meetings where we were able to meet with the community and hear their issues and concerns and work together as a collective group to develop corrective action plans. We had our annual toy drive. We have the Arrive program for the mental health, our coat drive, the turkey drive for Thanksgiving. Along with our fire department, we have the Junior Public Safety Academy, an implementation of our camera program and our ALPRs. So all those successes come from, our collaborative efforts. And again, we want to thank you. And I'm going to have Chief Vidiello come and discuss our summer initiative that we will be implementing within a week.
Thank you, Director. Hello, everyone. Again, I just want to reiterate what the Director said. Thank you guys for helping us, allowing us, and giving us the money to operate, because the Director and I, we are committed to ensuring that our department operates efficiently and effectively to safeguard our community. And we take that very seriously. So summer's upon us again. So we're going to start our summer initiative program. I'm pretty sure everyone's familiar with it from the last few years. We're going to have more walking posts, bike officers in the park, more directed patrols throughout the area. And I also want to say, the grants that the director was talking about that we have for technology greatly enhances our ability to serve the community and to police the community without, how can I say, without hiring a lot more cops. It's a force multiplier, the technology that we have available to us these days. So yeah, we'll be out there. We'll be making sure that we're looking after our community. And it's always an honor to serve this community and our citizens. That's my statement.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
All right, Council President, let's hit the books. Again, that's tab 8, beginning on page 75. Tab 8 begins the police's salary and wage request. The total requested this year is $18,232,647 compared to last year's adopted budget at $17,151,795. Pay to charge was $17,108,919. First line item, the police salary and wages, total request $17,284,647 compared to last year's $14,541,749.59. Any questions on page 75?
No, yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello? Oh, because I was trying to talk on the municipal court budget, but I tried to get in and I was muted the whole time, so I missed that whole conversation. But I'll talk about that at another time. But on its salary and wages, what about retirement? Is there retirement, any retirees coming up on this?
Absolutely. So let me take a moment, to explain the strike throughs. So you'll notice from the bottom up, the second name and position up, and then the fourth name from the bottom up on page 75 has strike throughs. So those are expected retirements. Those two gentlemen have actually retired already. So you'll see we have one payout amount listed. The second one we're still working on.
Okay.
Throughout this budget, the people that we anticipate or that have already retired this year, you'll see a strike through their name.
Okay, but does the strike through indicate, that money is not in the budget, or it isn't?
So all of the payouts for sick and vacation time are not budgeted. We've only budgeted what we were paying them in this year. And then all of those payouts will be done via special emergency at the end of the year. A special emergency allows us to budget those costs over 5 years versus doing a regular emergency and paying for it all in 1 year.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions on page 75? If not, let's flip to 76. This is a continuation of the salaries.
There's a
and
hand raised.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hilbert.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I had to click it a couple of times. Yes, compared to last year's budget, last year's budget said that some of the salaries were paid by a grant. Do we have any, does this budget have like any of those circumstances this year?
Great question. No, they don't. So there were 15 officers in last year's budget that were paid by the Cops Hire Grant. And that grant is no longer in effect. Those 15 officers were budgeted about $850,000. So that $850,000 is now being absorbed into the operating budget.
850. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So we all flip to page 76. Any questions on page 76? If not, we'll drop down to page 77. This is a continuation of salaries and wages. Any questions on page 77? Now we'll flip to 78. More salaries and wages for the police department. If no questions on 78, we'll drop down to 79. 79, the top line item is the police department's cap waiver. Nothing is budgeted yet. We have an application that's going to go before the local finance board in July for our annual cap waiver. Once that is complete, we will budget the money there and take it out of line item 101, drop it down to the cap waiver line item 102. Last year, we budgeted 1.7 million. Everything was spent. The next line item is overtime. The overtime request this year is 700,000. You'll notice that there is a $300,000 administrative adjustment. It was initially 1 million. The 300,000 brought it down to 700,000. Last year we budgeted 700,000. Paid a charge was 1.4 million. Next is holiday pay, budgeting 21,000. Last year we budgeted $10,420. Then there's clothing allowance, budgeting 227,000. Last year we budgeted 190,000. Education stipend, nothing is budgeted this year. Last year we budgeted 9,625. And there are no budgets. There's no money budgeted for the detective stipend or the emergency terminal pay. Any questions on 79?
Yeah, now I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me? For the overtime, okay, we're budgeting 700,000, right?
Yes, sir.
And that was the same number for last year. But
Yes,
we paid out double that last year.
yes, sir.
So can I get an explanation for the reason why we paid out double?
The reason we paid it out is because they worked it. As far as, why it was double, I would let, the police director, police chief, or the business administrator speak to that.
We had, what happened? I didn't do that.
Wait a minute. Thing went off? Hey, Mike, come and fix this thing.
Mike, what happened? The Zoom,
The whole thing went off?
where?
We can see you, we can hear you.
I'm sorry, I just saw, we lost the whole screen. We're trying to get it up. You
Oh,
can
okay,
hear
we
me?
hear you, we hear you and see you.
We don't see you. Hold on a second. I might as well speak while you can't see me. Overtime is caused by many different factors. It's caused by people calling out sick, not enough manpower, special operations, city events that we have, city road jobs, which we had a few of, amongst other things that come up that, and a lot of it is court also. So we have, if any of the council would like to see it, we have total breakdowns of each and every hour of overtime and what it's used for.
But Chief Vinny, shouldn't and doesn't these this overtime number, isn't all of that taken into account that this might happen, that might happen, and that is the reason for the 700,000?
Yes, that's the reason for it. And I also have to bring this up, and I'm pretty sure financial officer will back me. We dropped overtime hours actually by 7,000 hours. Is that correct?
I have to double check those numbers.
Yeah, we did drop overtime hours. However, with the raises, through the contractual raises,
That is correct. That is correct.
it brought the money up. So we did drop overtime. We
Yeah,
dropped the hours, the manpower hours. But with the raises and everything, it just, threw the rate up.
2023 overtime hours, 19,413. 2022, 25,835.
Okay, I just wanted to, hear what the explanation was.
Mr.
I
Ross.
know things happen.
Councilman? That
Yeah.
was a pretty good drop though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, thanks.
But you know, I have you guys are doing a great job. You know, this is the safest the city has ever been in years, and I appreciate that. You know, I just wanted to get an explanation why, you know, we just paid out, you know, so much money in overtime, but
No,
you gave me the explanation.
Councilman, and the overall goal is to lower it, and to come up with creative ways of lowering it. That's our number one goal.
Excellent. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Yeah, Council President, I just have a quick question, I guess, for the CFO, whoever else. You said that we initially budgeted $1 million and then we dropped it down to 700,000. And if I heard you correctly, you said that the overtime last year was 1.4. So you don't anticipate us being somewhere in that ballpark?
Right now, through April, we're still reconciling May. Police department's overtime is at 585,000. So forecasting definitely suggests it'll be higher than that 700,000. But again, this was an administrative adjustment. The business administrator and the mayor were comfortable with this number. They want the police department to be around $27,000 per pay in overtime. And this is the number that we have in the introduced budget.
Yeah, I understand that, but just realistically looking at where we like into the deep into the second quarter maybe. So I don't know how we could maybe just calculate what we currently spent and forecast that out for the rest of the year to come up with a realistic number, because I know that at some point in time in what is it, October, no, November, when we do the transfers,
Yeah.
we would have to do a transfer maybe to this line item because we didn't properly budget it for it. So I'm just looking ahead. That's all.
No, I mean, that's a great observation. We have certain levies that we have to apply by, cap levy or appropriation, certain caps, a levy cap and appropriation cap. So we need to make these cuts to get under the cap to introduce the budget. That was another part of the administrative adjustment.
Okay, all right. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Yes, sir. No other questions on page 79. We're going to flip to page 80. Page 80 begins the police department's O&E request for 2024. The total requested this year is $428,340 compared to last year's $523,640. The total spent $370,997.77. The first line item is office materials and supplies. This year's request is $12,300 compared to last year's $27,300 requested. Next is uniform, clothing, etc. This year's request is $30,000. Last year's request was the same amount, $30,000. Tires and tubes, nothing is requested. Nothing was budgeted last year. Motor vehicle parts and accessories, $3,000 was requested this year. Last year, $18,000 was requested. Hardware and supplies, $6,000 is requested this year. Last year, $16,000 was requested. Last line item, dues and publications, $10,050 is being requested, which is the same as last year's request. Any questions on page 80?
Yes, I do, Council President. This $3,000 for vehicle maintenance parts. I thought we had a contract with a part vendor where we get our parts from for all our vehicles.
We do. This is just for miscellaneous repairs for like the motorcycles or anything else.
Okay, that part distributor doesn't get the motorcycle parts.
There are still vehicles and motorcycles that we own that are not part of the master lease agreement. So the maintenance contract for the master lease agreement doesn't cover those. So you still have to have some minimal amount for parts for some of the vehicles that we own.
All right. That's fair enough. Thanks.
Any other questions on page 80? Now let's drop down to page 81. It begins with prison fare. That line item's request is $1,000, same as last year's adopted budget line item amount. Next is ammo. They requested 185,000. See, there's an $85,000 administrative adjustment. So this year's request is 100,000. It's down from last year's request of 110,000. Next is the community services borough line item. This year's request is for $5,000. Last year's request was $20,000. Next up, employee training. This year's request is 69,000. It's down from last year's request of 73,000. Excuse me, last year's adopted budget of 73,300. Next, purchase of vehicles. $3,000 is requested. Last year's adopted budget was 8,000 for that line item. Next is communications. Request is $5,000. It's down $10,000 from last year's request, 15. Rentals and leases, nothing is requested. Nothing was budgeted last year. The last line item, vehicle repair and maintenance. $1,000 is requested this year, same as last year's budget. Any questions on page 81?
Just one. Royal fried chicken. I know that we used to use them, but they have since I guess the place is out of business because of the fire. I guess it's just maybe a typo. Should that line item like just be
McDonald's.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's McDonald's, which is listed next to it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions on page 81? If not, let's flip to page 82. Begins with equipment repair and maintenance. This line item's request is $30,000. Last year's budget request is $30,000. Now there's an actual typo on this page. The resolution number is 135-2024 for Northeast Communications. Purchase order number is 24-00274. Next is auto body repair line item. 5,000 requested this year. 5,000 this year. 10,000 was the adopted budget last year. Printing and binding, 6,000 requested this year, same as last year's adopted budget. Photography, blueprints, etc. $4,000 is requested. Last year was $1,000. Last line item on page 82 is advertising. $1,500 is requested this year, same as last year's budget line item. Any questions on page 82?
Council President?
Yes, Councilman Montague.
What's the reason of the increase of from 1,000? Was it 1,000 to you requested 4,000, but we only used 1,000 last year? Camera store.
I believe it's because of the demand for body camera footage. We have to buy more supplies, like not floppy disks, USBs. Chief Adilo, you want to talk about that more?
Yes, with all the requests for body cam footage, we're getting inundated with them. So all these drives cost a lot of money. So we're like, it's really starting to burden the system and the cost. So every time they open something with the body cameras, we have to supply them with they get charged for it, but still, it's we got to put out for the drives, thumb drives.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Any other questions on page 82? If not, drop down to page 83. It begins with professional services. The request this year is $32,000. Last year's adopted budget was $36,000. Next, special investigations. Nothing is requested this year. Nothing was budgeted last year. Contractual services request this year is for $80,690. Last year's budget line item was the exact same amount, $80,690. There's another update, Power DMS. That purchase order number is actually 24-00584. Again, 24-00584. The last line item is other equipment. This year's request is 23,800. It's down 5,000 from last year's 28,800. Any questions on page 83?
Yeah, Mr. Clemens,
Yes, ma'am.
on the contractor services, so last year you budgeted 80,000, you spent 179.
Correct.
So so there's a reduction there, right?
They're requesting the same amount.
And they don't anticipate going over that?
No, we met with the director and they were comfortable with this year's budget amount.
Okay.
Council President,
Yes, Councilman Ross.
the question is for this contractual services, it's budgeted for the 80,000. How much has been paid thus far?
Thus far. One second. $44,979.21. Just above half.
Oh, yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions or comments on page 83? If not, let's flip to page 84, which begins the crossing guards salary and wage request. Total requested this year is $567,800. It's up from last year's $508,000 that was budgeted. Total spent or paid a charge rather in this line item last year was $578,000. The crossing guard salary and wage line items request is $551,000 compared to last year's $497,000. Any questions on page 84?
Yes, I do. Now, these salary and wages for the school guards, I know we had discussions in the past because I have my notes that this budget should be brought over to the Board of Ed. Okay, these are school crossing guards that, work for the Board of Ed. Why are we paying it?
I'll let the business administrator talk about that.
So this is a negotiation between the Board of Ed and the city, and it comes up every year. There are municipalities where the cost is shared. There are municipalities where the cost is borne by the Board of Ed, but it's all dependent upon the negotiation. We've had discussions with the Board of Ed about this. They're ongoing.
Do you know when this will be resolved? Because we heard this last year. And
It's
now
not
we're hearing
not likely to be resolved during this budget cycle. It's wrapped up with a whole bunch of monetary issues between the Board of Ed and the city.
Thank you.
Any other questions on page 84? If not, let's drop down to page 85. Nothing is budgeted for crossing guards overtime. Nothing was budgeted last year. Holiday pay. This year we're budgeting $16,800. Last year we budgeted $11,000. Crossing guards O&E, we're budgeting $1. Last year we budgeted $1. We budget $1 just in case we need to transfer into this line item to purchase anything for the crossing guards. Just in case anybody was wondering. Any questions on page 85?
Yes, I just have materials and supplies. Those handheld stop signs that they use, will that be a figure that will be plugged into this line item if and when those purchases are necessary?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
And if And if we decide this is for our business administrator and I guess police chief, if you decide that we need to buy more, please have them with the flashing lights so they can see them when it's a foggy morning.
Will it be also any like additional cones?
We can always use cones, always.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Double back. Yeah, I'm so sorry. CFO Niles Clement. I don't know why I said your whole name.
It's close.
Trying to be professional, right? Just said his whole name. I wanted to double back because we're talking about equipment. Chief Vidiello, are we purchasing those decibel readers?
Yes, we are. There's a purchase order already in, and we're attempting to get it from the company. They should be here a few weeks.
Is there a line item for that? I think I missed that.
It's no, we just take it out of the equipment portion of it.
Okay. All right.
And we also, with that being said, we also have to send the original sound officers back to get recertified. Because there's a recertification every year or two to use those meters.
Every year. Okay. So that'll probably increase the training as well.
Yeah, it's pretty much budgeted in there. That was
Okay.
anticipated.
It's already in there. 4 devices or 3?
3.
3. Just put my notes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
CFO, I'm good.
Councilwoman Quantavia Hilbert. Any other questions on page 85? If not, Council President, that concludes tab 8 for the police department. Chief Vidiello, Director Warren, any closing comments, closing remarks?
We just want to continue, thank you for your continued support. Let's continue to work together. All of your ideas that you may have, please submit them to us because, you know, we're working together as a cohesive unit and we don't have all the answers, but I think collectively we work together, we can do even better, be more efficient and effective.
Exactly. Yes, we'll always give 100% to the community. We love this community. And also, we know we have to be efficient and frugal with the money because, you know, times are rough, but we'll always be here no matter what. So we appreciate your support. The council, the administration, the city, the citizens. This is a wonderful city and we'll always continue to do our best and to keep it that way.
Thank you. Before we can move on to fire, do we have any questions from the CBAC?
Council President, I have one, and then if anybody else on CBAC has one, they can chime in. Niles, would you again, for us less smart than you are, what is the purpose of the administrative adjustment? Again, can you just explain that?
Sure. We have, can you please mute yourself? Thank you, Mr. Fields. There's some feedback. We have 2 caps that we have to adhere to. There's a municipal appropriations cap and a municipal levy cap. So when this request initially came from the police department, we were over those caps. So we had to make some administrative adjustments to be able to introduce the budget. And those are what are reflected in those line items that say administrative adjustment.
Another way to call them would be blanket cuts.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Does anybody else on the CBAC have a question that they'd like to raise at this time, or we can wait till later?
Yeah, good evening.
Pryor.
Charles Pryor. Sorry we weren't able to attend the in-person CBAC meeting because our previous virtual one didn't work, but you know, I'm a single parent. All of that said, the question is for Chief just around the number of police officers, because all of the materials and training and safety stuff, you know, we want to make sure that our guys are safe.
as they patrol the streets and protect us, but it's about the number in comparison to the number of residents in the town of Orange. We're above national averages for sworn officers and for staff. So just want to understand what your staffing plan is as the municipality continues to grow, and want to make sure that we won't continue to be over those staffing numbers, as we, bring in all, these new residents. It seems like we're actually within striking range to absorb all that with the current size of the police force.
I'm glad you brought that up. Last year at this time, we were at 150 personnel. Right now, by June, we're gonna go down. Well, with the retirements, we'll be at 140 in July. We also have 3 recruits in the academy, so we'll bring it up to 143. So we want to keep it around that number, because if you recall, when we were down, when we had the layoffs and everything, and we were down in the hundreds, like, this city was off the hooks. Remember all the shootings, and it was crime ridden. But having these cops with boots on the ground, even though we are a little bit above the average for cop per resident, it absolutely works. And I think it's a great investment to the city and the community to have these cops there. And with the training, yes, I have to say, thank you for the city for allowing us to give us that money for our training. But our cops are some of the best trained in the county, if not the state. And not only do we find paid classes for our officers, there's also a lot of classes that are given free that we make sure all our officers attend. So, like, just case in point, the CIT officers, through the Attorney General and through the prosecutor's office, critical incident training, it deals with mental health and allows them to ride with the mental health specialist in the Arrive program. That's free of charge. The escalation is free of charge. So we send them to all the classes that we can for free, and some are not, and some are paid.
And thank you for that, Chief. Like I said, all of the safety training and materials, all that stuff, absolutely makes sense. Like, you and I have spoken before, and I think I maybe owe you another call. I'm sorry, I don't have your number. Did you call me? I did. So we'll talk some more.
Make sure, please.
Like I said, I have a number of family members up and down the East Coast and on the federal level in the that work as police officers in other safety positions. My other question is, since you brought it up, the retirements, are they those in the supervisory rank, sergeant and above? Because with that, I think you gave the number right now on the books, minus a handful of strike-throughs, either expected retired or retired. You have almost 35 people supervisory rank or above, would put your ratio of one supervisor to every 4.7 or so officers. So just wondering, those that you're expecting to retire, are they in those ranks, and what is the balance that you're trying to get, especially as we're talking about more boots on the ground?
Yeah, we're trying to keep the rates, get them down. We spoke to the BA about this to get the ratio a little better. So, not that this is a good thing. I hate to say when we lose people that it's a good thing, but we lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 retired, and the 5 that retired it was a captain, it was a lieutenant, 2 lieutenants, and 2 sergeants. And we don't see them being replaced anytime soon, or if ever.
I mean, all things being equal, they were top earners.
Yeah.
But that's why I asked, just because it does seem a little top heavy when you look at it. I know some of those were senior officers and so forth. So that's why I asked about, the staffing plan going forward, especially as we're doing community development and looking to bring in new residents, just, trying to figure out what your plan is and where we're gonna land in our ratio of residents to sworn officers and your staff, because you just need support and stuff. But just wanted to make sure that we're not looking at growing too much, because we thankfully compensate you guys pretty well.
you know,
No,
for
you
the.
do.
for
Listen,
the
I got
job-
no complaints. I
For
love
the
the
job
city.
that you do, you know
I've
what I
been here
mean?
35
So,
years.
you
But my
know,
wife, she wouldn't agree. She doesn't think I get paid enough for all the hours I work. But no, but to my point before, you know what? You bring up these great points. And that's why I mentioned technology. So you having, you know, family members in law enforcement, you know that technology is a force multiplier. Like we could have cameras that are the eyes of one camera is like 10 cops, hypothetically speaking. So having this technology set up throughout the city, like having the automatic license plate readers, having the cameras, having sensors, it greatly enhances the ability of the officers without ballooning the number of officers, if that makes sense.
thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
We don't see any more hands.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Council President?
Yes, Councilwoman Hibbert.
Yes, can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Business Administrator Hartwig. In regards to the police station, where will we see the information or the financials for the new communication center? And the grant that was given for it?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean by the financials.
Right, wasn't there a grant given to build out?
Been a grant awarded for $1.3 million as a special appropriation grant through Congressman Payne's office, yes.
Pardon the interruption. I guess she's asking where you'll see that appropriation at. All grants are in tab 4.
Tab 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
And those are just the grants that we have in the budget right now. We haven't received the official award letter yet.
Mm-hmm.
We do, we'll add it to the budget.
Okay, but there will be no additional, or is it too soon to say if there will be any additional responsibility from the actual department?
It's too soon to say.
Okay.
And in addition to the 1.3 million, there's a 20% match.
20%. Okay. All right, that was my only question. Thank you.
CFO Clement, or Business Administrator. I guess we've been waiting on that award letter for what, over a month and a half? Has anybody followed up to see what is coming
I'm in constant communication with the Congressman's office.
with Menendez's office?
Yes, sir.
This is the 1.3 is from Congressman Payne's office. There was a $600,000 grant for another project that came from Senator Booker's office, nothing from Senator Menendez's office.
Okay. Because I know on the calls, Isabel is saying if we have any issues, please give her a call. So,
Yeah, we're good.
okay. All right.
I mean, we can always ask Mendez for some money. More money doesn't hurt. But I actually do have a follow-up question. So would we be using employees that we already have, or will we need line items to hire more people for when that communication department is online?
If it goes according to plan, you'll be able to staff it with the existing complement of superior officers and dispatchers. You may need to add one dispatcher because you'll be eliminating a fire contract by consolidating fire communications into the same center.
Okay, so we're going to be doing our police and fire through the same dispatch center.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm done. I promise. Thank you.
All right, Council President, if there are no more questions or comments, we're going to move to the Orange Fire Department, tab 9, page 95. Last but certainly not least, Chief Brown. Take it away.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Derek E. Brown, Chief of the Orange Fire Department. I have with me this evening Firefighter Dawson, who works as my IT and procurement and wears a number of hats in our department and does an amazing job as the rest of my administration and staff line members. Through the years, we've given back to the city by having the gift to give, which is giving back coat drives and Thanksgiving, Christmas drives, and helping the less fortunate. The city of Orange is a great city. I grew up in this city, and I give my all to the city and to the residents. I'd like to thank the mayor and the council, the BA, the CFO, the law department, all the members in the other departments of the city that help us and support us and help us do our job as firemen and firewomen in the city of Orange. At this time, I would like to share my screen. Firefighter Dawson, please. I have a video I'd like to play for you guys and some slides and discuss some things that we've done from last year into this year, moving our department forward. The department is 1872. That's when it was developed. The building you're looking at was something that was donated by the Colgate family. Next slide, please. The City of Orange Township Fire Department exists to protect the quality of life of the residents of the Orange Township and its visitors from fires, natural disasters, and all hazardous incidents by providing, Dawson, go back, please. Thank you. The City of Orange Township Fire Department exists to protect the quality of life for residents of the Orange Township and its visitors from fires, natural disasters, and all hazardous incidents by providing effective and efficient emergency and medical services to those in need. We empower our community through prevention and education programs that provide a work environment that values cultural diversity, free of harassment and discrimination. This is achieved by providing excellent and compassionate services in an atmosphere that encourages innovation, professional development, and diversity. Next slide, please. Our overview is our organizational structure. We have manpower, staffing. Key areas of responsibility is making sure that life, property, protecting life and property and the environment. We'll discuss our 2023 accomplishments, budget overview, and any final recommendations that we have. The OFD is operated as a unified command organization that is structured as a paramilitary organization that has a chain of command system. My command staff, which consists of operations, accountability, administrative positions that run the daily operations as far as getting into the elements of staffing needs, financial needs, procurement process. We have the operations division, which oversees the operations that we would deploy into the community. Two locations that we operate out of, which is one at this time, is our fire headquarters at 419 Central Avenue. 257 Washington Street locations, which is a single engine house, is closed at this time. Our Orange Township Fire Department is a full-time paid fire department consisting of 89 uniformed personnel and 4 civilians. Our line personnel consists of 66 members operating on the line, which consists of 16 captains and 4 deputy chiefs operating fire suppression services, as well as aiding in any first responder services. Upstairs, we have 4 civilians working upstairs in our administration, assisting as a clerical clerk, which we have 2. We have a confidential clerk, we have 1, and then we have our community relations division. We have a civilian in that position assisting with community relation needs. All that is under my command, which we delegate and keep the department moving forward effectively and try to mitigate, making sure we keep costs down. So everyone works hand in hand together to make sure the job is done. The line personnel have done an amazing job of coming to work and decreasing costs, which you'll see as we move forward through the slides. Our Fire Prevention Bureau, key bureau for compliance, local, state, and federal compliance with businesses and residents over three families. Our Fire Prevention Bureau is an entity within the fire service. Our fire department works independently on its own by performing inspections and making sure that all compliance is met by all stakeholders, business owners, and the like, and inspecting all new buildings that come up with our fire inspector. We have a new interim fire inspector who's doing an amazing job at this time. The prior fire inspector just retired. Our training bureau is something that we need for, since we're a new department, not a new department, but a very young department. In our training division, members are always trained in the aspects of firefighting and things that need to be which are annual training things that we need to have certifications for. So it's very important for our training to keep members abreast of any new tactics and evolutions, anything they need to do provide mitigating services to our community. Operations division is overall making sure that we're maintaining proper services and keeping a standard and operating effectively and efficiently. The Office of Emergency Management works as out of the fire department. As you understand, any natural disasters, anything like that, Office of Emergency Management comes in and assists, and we become a unified command with PD and with the Emergency Operations Center, which is something that is working on in the future that we'll work out of and mitigate and protecting the residents and the stakeholders of the city. EMS is contracted out. Right now, we have University EMS providing services at no cost to the city. It was a no bid contract. They are doing an amazing job. And you'll see their numbers reflected later on in the spot in the slides. Community relations is getting out in there into the community, providing services, giving education, anything that's needed out there in the community. We have the JPSA program that's coupled with police. They do an amazing job for the last few years. This year coming up is going to be another amazing venture with JPSA. Fleet management deals with our fleet, our auxiliary vehicles and apparatus that you see that we call our fire engines, dealing with making sure we have maintenance. We have a maintenance agreement plan that we have for the vehicles and make sure that we keep them in emergency condition, that they're always operational for the safety of firefighters and the community. And the equipment is all the equipment that we use in the firefighting suppression business, tool gates as far as digital and as well as manual tools. Equipment is very important for a firefighter to make sure that we keep them with equipment and necessary needs and tools and going back and training how to perform and use them best way to protect our community. Annual refresher and basic skills training is something that we do with our training and equipment division. Leadership training for officers, always in our officer development, how to project themselves, how to be in the community, how to work with the citizens and residents of the city. High-rise training, PGIF training, something from our insurance that we have to be compliant. That is annual training, monthly training is issued by the cities. Also, I have trainings that are issued by the department through PGIF. The mutual aid training is training with other departments that we assist as well as they assist us coming in out to community when we need them for any elevated mutual aid assignments that we have and disasters within our town. CPR and AED recertification citywide. We are a certified teaching facility and training facility. So we do offer CPR training to our stakeholders in the city as well as our residents. National Officers Association is further training for our officers. And New Jersey Visitor Communications Training Center designation is what we established in the fire department as a training station and a training building within our department. In addition to extinguishing fires, modern fire departments handle a diverse range of emergencies, including medical emergencies, hazardous materials, incidents, and rescues. With a decrease in fire incidents, but a rise in first responder and service calls, fire departments now focus on providing rapid medical assistance, conducting community outreach, and implementing preventive measures to ensure public safety and well-being. This multifaceted operations require highly trained personnel equipped with advanced technology and a strong commitment to serving their communities. So fires have been down this time last year. We look at 23, had 180 structure fires, which you call signal 11s in our town. At this point to date, we have had 70 incidents of fires in our town. Our first responder calls at this point last year was 6,815. Right now we had 2,830. So we're on an uptick to seeing we're almost going to meet that amount and probably surpass that amount with the first responder calls. False alarms, the response to false alarms that we get there's nothing of an emergency. It was just a false alarm, something activated, but there was no hazard found. At this point, we had 310. Last year, we had 846 for the entire year. Miscellaneous calls are service calls, motor vehicle accidents. Could be a possible somebody stuck in the elevator, a water leak. Those are service calls. That's a miscellaneous call. 824 last year. This year we had 359. So roughly we had an increase so far in these calls. To assist in better preventing or reducing fires in the city, the Orange Fire Department has taken measures to increase community engagement and better educate the community in fire safety and fire awareness. Through our emergency service initiative, Safe in Orange, fire prevention presentations, our gift to give, which is giving back to the city, our smoke detector campaign, which we're looking to increase with a generous donation from one of the federal credit unions. We're looking into that. We're going to hand over a donation so we'll be able to have and purchase combination smoke detectors and CO detectors, as well as Save a Heart program that we have, which is a CPR program, and the Junior Public Safety campaign. Next slide. The fire department's fleet consists of 3 state apparatus supported by 2 older apparatus, where diligent maintenance remains paramount. To ensure reliability and readiness during emergencies, we purchased 3 apparatus in 2019. We have 2 aging units that were purchased in 2014. 1 frontline and 1 reserve. The lifespan of apparatus is usually 10 to 15 years. 20 years, we take them off the line, use them in service. No additional backup units at this time. And we have support vehicles, and we have a public safety issue and firefighter safety issue when it comes to fleet management. As per contractual obligations, the fire department personnel will see salary and wage increases, reflecting the commitment to fair compensation. However, with the rising cost of goods and services, the operating budget of the department is projected to escalate. That's taking careful financial planning to maintain essential services without compromising quality or safety. So as the numbers, as you see, have risen, have decreased, some numbers have risen and fallen off through salary and wages and through retirements in the fire department. Thanks to increased staffing levels and improved planning efficiency, the fire department's overtime budget is gradually decreasing, allowing for better allocation of resources. Furthermore, the implementation of more effective scheduling strategies has rendered the need for the brownout method unnecessary, ensuring consistent coverage and response capability across all shifts. So over the last 3 years, we've decreased our overtime budget through hiring and filling positions, and as well as the decrease in manpower being out, getting injured, and fire. So we have decreased our overtime budget over the last 3 years, as you see the decline to date. Grants this year, we did receive a number of grants from the FEMA Assistance to Firefighter Grant. We were awarded 117K. The fire prevention grant that we're going after simulation trailer for education of the community. We applied for the fire safety grant, 1.1 million for 6 new firefighters. And the American Rescue Plan grant, we received 124K, which helped us with fire gear for members. Numerous accomplishments this year is numerous renovations to our headquarters, updates to our electrical infrastructure, cosmetic updates, visual dispatch aids installed for members coming in for communication with calls, first for bathroom renovation, secure personnel gear lockers for members, acquire new personnel PPE and tools for members, hire 21 new firefighters since 2022, promoted 7 members to the ranks of deputy chief and to captain, new handheld radios purchased, maintain class 2 ISO radio for the city, maintaining residents insurance levels, and maintain status as certified training facility and POSHA compliant. Capital improvements have been renovations to our fire headquarters. Washington Street Firehouse, we're looking at, we procured a grant for abatements, new apparatus, communications, which we're working on, which radios you'll see within the budget, and SCBA harnesses, which you'll see in the budget that we procured those 2 things. At this time, any questions? This ends my slideshow, but thank you for this time.
Council President, do we want to entertain any questions right now? Do we want to hit the books?
Let's hit the books.
All right. She's on mute.
I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you for that presentation. Very well done.
Great presentation.
Any questions on the presentation before we go through the pages? If not, Mr. Clements, hit it.
All right. Tab 9, page 95. Page 95 begins the fire division salary and wage request. This year's total requested is $9,656,965. It's up from last year's $8,884,728 requested. Spent, the total paid to charge in 2023 was $8,912,365.40. The First line item in the fire division salary and wages is their salary and wages. So this lists the different salary and wages for their employees, their staff. That request this year is $9,266,840. Last year's adopted budget for that line item was $7,723,103. Any questions on page 95? If not, let's flip to 96. 96 continues the fire division's salary and wage requests, listing various employees. Any questions on page 96? You'll notice that two numbers are budgeted outside of the grid. First individual's full salary is paid by the Fire Prevention Trust Fund, so it doesn't hit the operating budget. The second individual is set to retire. So the number in the grid is what the city is responsible for in the operating budget. The amount outside, the opposite way. The number outside the grid is what's budgeted in the city's budget. The number inside the grid is what will be paid out when they retire.
Council President, now what page are you on? I'm on page 88.
He's on page 90. You gotta go to tab 9. Page 88. Those pages was probably put in there by mistake. Go to tab 9.
Okay, okay, all right.
Page 96.
Okay, I'm good.
All right.
Great. Any questions on 96? If not, we'll drop down to 97. 97 completes fire department's salary and wage request. Then you see a cap waiver line item. Right now, there's a 0 for that line item. Last year, we budgeted $800,000. Similar to the police department, we are going before the local finance board in July for our annual cap waiver, which will include fire division. It's for our public safety departments, police and fire. Next is overtime. The overtime request this year is $300,000. You'll notice that there's a $250,000 administrative adjustment, similar to the police department, what we discussed before. Cap obligations.
Council President.
Councilman Ross, 1 second.
Hold on, Councilman Ross.
One second. I just wanted to finish that. We're budgeting 200.
Okay.
We're budgeting 300,000 this year. We budgeted 290,000 last year, and we're on pace to hit the $300,000 number this year for fire overtime. Councilman Ross.
Yeah, just my question was, you said we're on pace. What have we paid out thus far in overtime?
$109,000.
100,000.
Yep.
Thank you.
So after overtime, there's a line item for the clothing allowance for the fire division, budgeting $82,500 this year. Last year we budgeted $67,000. Last year's budget didn't include the recruits that were in the academy.
Correct.
Gentlemen and ladies.
Correct.
The next line item is the education stipend. This year we're budgeting $7,625. It's up from last year's request of $4,625. Last line item for the fire inspecting stipend. So there's nothing budgeted this year. Nothing was budgeted last year. Any questions on page 97? If not, let's flip to page 98. Page 98 begins the fire division's O&E requests. The total requested this year is $469,315. Excuse me. Last year's adopted budget was $371,318. Total paid or charged, $255,487.36. First line item on page 98 is office materials and supplies. They're requesting $6,500 this year. Last year's adopted budget for that line item was $1,160. Next line item, uniforms, clothing, etc. This year's request is $91,000. Last year's adopted budget for that line item was $85,270. You'll notice that there was a $162,000 administrative adjustment. So we're going to move their fire suits, the Nomex station gear, out to capital. as well as the turnout gear. Excuse me, we're moving out the turnout gear to capital. So those are the
Right.
top two line items that total 162,000. Any questions on page 98? If not, let's drop down to page 99. Page 99 begins with motor vehicle parts and accessories. The request this year is for 20,000. Last year's request was for $18,560. Next, we have hardware and supplies. The request is 24,750. Last year we budgeted 21,550. Following hardware and supplies, we have dues and publications. The request this year is the same as last year's budget for this line item, 1,050. Lastly, on page 99, we have community services bureau line item, which is $5,000. Last year we budgeted $15,000. Any questions on page 99? If not, let's flip to page 100. Page 100 begins with employee training. This line item's request totals $145,725 after the administrative adjustment. Last year, we budgeted $96,500 in this line item. Following employee training, we have communications. This year's request is $35,000. Last year, we didn't budget anything in this line item. Just want to note that this line item has an administrative adjustment as well. We're moving out $115,000. These are for fire radios. They'll be budgeted in the general capital fund as well. Will be paid for by capital. Right, Chief Brown?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Next is rentals and leases. The request this year is $8,600. Last year's adopted budget for this line item was $7,500. Last line item on page 100 is vehicle repair and maintenance. The request this year is $65,000. Last year's adopted budget for this line item, $65,000. It says pending reso. This reso was recently adopted at the city council meeting on June 5th. That resolution number is 307-2024 and is for the amount listed. The purchase order number is correct. Any questions on page 100? If not, let's drop down to page 101. First line item is equipment repair and maintenance. The request this year is $25,000. Last year's adopted budget for this line item was $25,000. Here again, we have an administrative adjustment that was moved to capital. This is for their SCBA. That's tanks, masts, harnesses, etc.
Correct.
Next line item, travel allowance for NJLM. So Chief Brown, I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to take this out if the council is comfortable cutting it. We don't do travel allowance for any departments. It's something that we've been cutting back on in recent years. So with the council's permission, we'd like to cut this 1,140, be uniform across the city. Is that all right, Council President? We will discuss this at a later time when we do the workshop. Just to put a note right there for now. Next line item, professional services. Nothing is budgeted. Nothing was budgeted last year. Contractual services. This year's request is for $31,750. Last year's budget for that line item was $27,100. I do want to note that you'll see a $98,972 line item for our dispatch services with UMDMJ. That resolution is forthcoming. It should be on the next council agenda on June 18th, 2024.
Correct.
We just finished negotiating today. I think you'll like what you see when you see that resolution. Save the city some money. The last line item on page 101 is for other equipment. This year, the fire department is requesting $8,800. Last year, we budgeted $7,628 in this line item. Any questions on page 101?
You want to repeat the number you gave, the 98,000?
Yes. $98,972. That's for the dispatch services with UMD NJ.
Okay.
Any other questions on page 101? If not, any closing remarks, Chief Brown?
I just would like to say thank you for your support. Since I've been in the position since February 22, it's been a journey. I love the city of Orange. I love serving the city of Orange and the residents and the stakeholders that come through the city. It's been an honor. It's been a great honor. It's been a humbling experience for me. CFO, I want to thank you for your guidance and leadership. I'd like to thank the BA for the words of wisdom and leading me and directing me when I need it. The council, thank you for every conversation I have with every council person. The residents of the city is there for me to protect on the fire side, and I take my job seriously. The fire business has experienced a lot of change since 2020, as well as we all in our own lives have experienced. The costs have risen and everything. And so we work to make sure that we are trying our best to protect the residents by not overspending and doing excessive, but what we need just to protect the residents of this city is what we do. As well as hiring personnel through education and leadership. Everything that we do at the fire department is done professionally and responsibly. We're not being neglectful. So I thank you for this opportunity to present. I also want to thank the members of the fire department for serving the residents of Orange and giving their best. But ultimately, I'm here to serve and do a job, and I'm going to do that job to the best of my abilities. And thank you for your support. And I hope I have your continued support moving forward in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Brown. Thank you. Job well done. Do we have any questions from the CBAC?
I believe one of our members does have some questions, your council president.
All right, is that Mr. Pryor? Who has their hand raised?
Charles?
His hands is not raised.
Do I need to raise my hand, Council President? I'm sorry, I didn't hear
Yeah,
that.
you needed to raise your hand so we can identify you, yes.
Does that work?
All right, Mr. Pryor.
Good evening, and thank you, Chief Brown, for your presentation. I haven't had the opportunity to meet you, but I've heard absolutely wonderful things about you. I do have a question in regards to your supervisory staff. You said you had 16 captains and 4 deputy chiefs, but when I looked in the book, I counted a total of 24 supervisory officers. So are you expecting resignations, or are you planning on hiring more people? Because like I said, I count 24, and I just double checked before I questioned the number that you gave. So I'm trying to figure out if it's a projection or it's not updated appropriately in the book.
Yeah, that's probably not updated appropriately. So right now, my line captains, I have 16. I have 1 captain upstairs working in my fire prevention. My line deputies, there are 4. On the line, I have 1 deputy upstairs as my training officer, and then it's myself. So to 24 is broken down. You just have to break it down. So right now we have 17 captains, 5 deputies,
So
and
that's
myself. That's correct.
So that's 22, and you would be then 23. You said 17, 5, and 1 is 23 then. You said 16, 4 earlier. I'm just double checking, because that was my question, just about the ratio to fire.
So we have 66
versus
firefighters.
supervisors.
Right. So we have 66 firefighters. We have on the line. We also have upstairs is our fire personnel. We have 2 firefighters upstairs. We have our fire official. We have a captain and a deputy upstairs. On the line, there's 4 tours. Each tour has 4 captains and 1 deputy. So 24 is just probably, I don't know where that number came from, but the captains is 17, deputies 5, and the firefighters are 66.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're more than welcome.
Is that ratio appropriate? Like you said, you have 4 captains on every tour and so forth.
So with the development that we have going on in the city, as we move forward to make sure we have protective services, that ratio we're growing the department. We're looking at increasing our personnel, hopefully hiring 8 more personnel this year, as well as promoting. So a fire of a magnitude I say that we have right now to try to meet our standard and stay compliant and make sure we're giving safe services is increasing our manpower. This substantially by this probably, a little over another 12 members or so, and that's it.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Council President, Ms. Perkins has her hands raised. Ms. Perkins.
Hi,
Hello,
I
Ms.
wanted
Perkins.
to speak and just praise what is going on in our fire department. You're doing a great job. You're out there in the community. You're the only guy I know that got something through that I asked for before a 5-year period, because I had asked for a CPR class for the residents of Orange, and we have it. I thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Perkins, we're gonna have it, and we're gonna get it out there. Our members that just got certified, we just gave a class to some of the employees at City Hall, and I'm looking forward to just getting the residents in and having them come in and get certified.
Okay, one question I do have is with this Washington Street Fire Department, when is that going online and how is that going to be staffed?
So in terms of when it's going online, we just got a grant for the remediation. That remediation is going to take a period of time, probably 18 to 30 months. It's not an easy or quick process. And while we think right now that the grant amount will cover the remediation, I'm not so sure based upon prior experience with remediation projects. So at this point, given the uncertainty of the time frame within which Washington Street would be able to be reopened, we don't have any plans to staff that facility at this time.
Thank you. I also want to apologize to the CBAC. I'm sitting here with a heating pad on because my bursitis came back, so I was unable to meet your meeting. And everyone here knows I go to every meeting.
Feel
So
better, Ms. Perkins.
only reason why I can't walk.
Feel better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Feel better. Any other questions from the CBAC?
I believe that's it, Council President and CFO.
Thank you, Mr. Fields.
I have one follow-up question for Chief Brown. Are you still planning to roll the CPR training once everybody's trained to the senior buildings?
Yes.
So you're putting together that schedule, right?
We're putting together something right now. Actually, we just put out to get the cards in and the books in. So we're waiting for that to come in, and then we'll set up our master plan and get it out to the city and coordinate our efforts. Because we could do some training in the classroom at the firehouse. So it's coming soon, everyone. It's coming soon.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, Council President, I think there are no more comments, questions. That's all for tonight. That concludes our budget hearings. We'll resume on Tuesday, June 11th at 7 p.m. There's a shift to the schedule. First, we're going to have the mayor, administration, and water by our BA. Then we'll have the community services department, and then we'll finish it up with public works. So that's June 11th, 7 p.m. over Zoom. Administration, community services, and DPW.
You want to
Repeat that one more time?
Want to repeat that? Yes, one more time.
Absolutely. Administration, which includes the mayor's department and the water department. It's tab 2. Then we'll have community services, and then we'll have Department of Public Works. It's tab 7 and 10.
Finance will be moving to Wednesday?
So Wednesday, that's correct.
All right.
I'm gonna ask the city clerk's office just to send that out to the council members just to remind them what we're doing that night. Okay, Ms. Lanier.
Yes. Is there a motion to adjourn?
First, let me thank everybody for participating. Great job, guys. Thank you for your questions. Good hearing. And I want to commend our CFO, Mr. Clements. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. All
Thank
right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned at 8:44 PM. Have a good night.
Thank you. Everyone enjoy the rest of your evening.
Good night. Go Mavs.
Go to sleep.